All right, everyone. Welcome to Google Sheets 2.0, our second training. And we're going to look a little bit at conditional formatting. Conditional formatting is just what it sounds like. If a condition is met, then the formatting on the sheet is changed. And this is really useful for visualizing your data. And it's kind of low-level programming, and it's kind of cool. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click right here on this hyperlink, and it'll take you to the conditional formatting data set that I generated for you. It's just totally random data. Email, first name, last name, age, and grade, like what score they got in your class, to sort of simulate this in your classroom. So again, this is totally random. And we're going to try and organize this so it's a little easier to understand. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a set of checkboxes for column F. And I specified from F2 to F41 because you don't really need to sort the titles up here. So let's do F2 through 41. Just select the range. And again, if you already know how to do this or you want to kind of play around yourself, do that. It's much more useful for you to fiddle around and figure this out on your own. You're going to have a lot more retention than if you just copy what I'm doing. But if you need any help, refer back to this video. All right, once I've selected my range, I'm going to click on data, and I'm going to go down to data validation so I can add my checkboxes. Now, there's a lot of other things you can do with data validation. I'm just sort of introducing it to you, and you can play around with it later and see all the other functionalities. I could do a lot of things, but I'm just going to do checkboxes because I personally use checkboxes a lot. I do a lot of my to-do lists on Google Sheets. You might have noticed that when I added the checkboxes, the grades changed. I have a formula in here to create random numbers to simulate the grades. So don't worry if the grades keep changing. This is just an experiment. All right, I've added the checkboxes. Next thing, I want to add a condition so that if I check the checkbox, it turns green. And if I uncheck it, or if it's unchecked, it's going to be red as a way of sort of visualizing a to-do list. So how could we do that? How do we add conditional formatting? All right, well, I can click on the entire column, and then I'm going to go to Format, and I'm going to do conditional formatting. There are so many things you can do with conditional formatting. If you look up here, if the text is empty, if the date is empty, if the amount is greater or less than, what I'm going to do for this is I'm just going to put if the text contains, and there's a little code for a checkbox when it's checked, and it's called true. That's just the code that they use in Google Sheets and in Excel. So if it's true, if it's checked, I want it to be green. That's my new rule. I'm done with that one, and let's test it out. If I click, it turns green. All right, now let's add the other rule. So if it's unclicked, it's going to be red. So if the text does not contain, and the same thing, true, I want the formatting to be light red. All right. Apply to range F2 through F. Yeah. I just didn't have the range selected. Okay, so the range now, whenever something is yet to be done, is going to be red. If I do it, I click on it and it turns green. Again, I use this all the time for my own to-do lists. Next thing, we want to color scale the ages so that the younger people are in a lighter color. Okay, so I really like this form of conditional formatting because it is so simple. I'm going to do conditional formatting, and instead of doing single color like I did over here with the red and the green, I'm just going to do a color scale. And it's going to automatically shade the values. Right now it's set so that the lower the value, the darker the shade, and that's the opposite of what I want. So I'm just going to click on this color shade, and I'm going to switch it from what it was down over here. And now you're going to see that the lighter the color, the younger the person, the darker the color, the older the person. And again, all these are just tools so that you can just really quickly look at data. You could do that for your grade book. I have done grade books where I will shade it for the darker the grade, the higher the score, or the opposite. And now, okay, that's what's next. We're going to add a condition so that the grades under 65 are red. And this is really useful. So let's select the data that we want. We want to do the grade column. Let's see. And we're going to add a rule in the conditional formatting. You could also just go up to format and conditional formatting. And we're going to change the format rules. We're going to make it so that if the amount is less than 65, their cell will turn automatically red. And again, this is really good for just visualizing your gradebook. It takes just a few seconds. You add this conditional formatting, and at a glance, you can see right away which students need help or maybe need a little reaching out to. And that's it. That's all you really have to do. Again, there are so many things you can do with conditional formatting. These are just a few examples that I use. But feel free to fiddle around. If you have any questions, shoot me an email, or there's a ton of really good videos on YouTube on how to use conditional formatting in a classroom or in a business setting.